So they were the people that came themselves from, not being forced by another person. These are different aspects of it. But the one that we are concerned with is to put on the map what happened some 220 years ago in faraway land. If you read the work by Olaudah Equiano, you have an idea of what happened that time, how people were taken and how they were exported. You also know that there are some people that were left untouched, particularly those that had the itchy marks. You know. But occasionally some of them were taken. And reports from former slave masters says something precise about those people with the mark. They called them gentlemen. You know, that they were not like the other people. There is something remarkable about those people. But generally, what I believe you people have tried to do here is to remind ourselves of man's inhumanity to man and to say never again. It must always be remembered. We shouldn't hide it. It's something that must be protected so that the world will know that there was a people that were taken from somewhere and they said we cannot take it. So on behalf of the organizers of this show, I want to invite us to the exhibition so that you see each person's reflection of aspects of this idea, the reawakening. Because the idea is to keep our mind abreast. Let it be on the front burner. Let us know what has been happening and we cannot forget it. That is the essence. And each person has his own way of telling his own story. That is the essence. In fact, if we do it every year, we will continue to have different stories reflecting on the same thing. So, on behalf of the organizers of this show, I declare the exhibition open.
Come on, my band.
Like I said, what we do is our explain their works. Some works will have to explain themselves because we have very small space. We don't have to point.
No, you don't.
All right. So, Center for Memory.
And he titles his work Footprints of Tradition. Now, when you look at this piece adopts the traditional artist says it's a style of art that was done on walls and on body paintings. And so in the art, they use a lot of earth tones. So as you can look at this piece, you see a lot of browns, yellow ochres, and those earth tones. So he's basically trying to talk about Igbo Landing from the point of perspective of using motifs that you find in Obi. So let's move on, let's see other works. Okay, so right here, these are crafts. These are some crafts made by a number of local artists. So these two artists, the works are made by two artists, they adopt a lot of coconut shells. They use locally found material, coconut shells. They use coconut shells to create beads. So these are crafts, they are earrings, and most of these are tableware. So you have some lights lights, and other things that we place on a centerpieces on the table. Then right here, these are adire pieces. These are adire clothes. These are adire is a traditional style of fine dining in some parts of Nigeria. So when you look at the clothes, you see a lot of African inspired prints on them. So you can see some of these. So generally, when you look around, you notice most of the artists in this exhibition, they adopt a lot of the symbols. Like when you look at this, you see a lot of symbols. You see some of that here. You see some of that here too, right here. So the next here too. This is another artist who also adopts the symbols, just like the first one we saw. You see a lot of headstones here. In the symbols, you see a lot of spiral lines, rotating lines. Most of the time, the artists use these lines to express the feelings which they have. So probably when you interact with the artist one-on-one, you will understand what they are trying to pass on with the lines. This work, this is done by Ogboso. This is a mixed media piece. Now he is trying to create a pictorial representation of Igbo Landing. So this is a slave drowning in water. So the mixed media, you see that they actually changed, and yet when you feel the work, you can see the textures. You can feel the textures on the works. So down here too, we also still have a lot of those adire pieces. Yeah, this also the Igbo Landing represented pictorially. So here you have a slave drowning, and if you look closely, you see like an imprint of 1803. That was the year that this happened. The Igbo Landing phenomenon happened. So you have that in the background, and then you have the slave drowning in water. So this artist is trying to use the very direct representation to show that. Now these two pieces here, they are also adopting a lot of symbols. Yeah. Now, the reason why many of the artists in this exhibition are using a lot of the symbols is because Igbo land, that is where Uli art done inside. And because of that, the popular style of art which is here is Uli. So that's why a lot of the artists, as we move around, you see that they use symbols in all the works. Okay, so this piece is also kind of pictorial, but the artist adopted a semi-realistic or semi-abstract way. So if you look at this piece, when you look, this is the water, that's the sun setting, and then you can see a human figure with something like a chain around the neck, drowning under the water. So that is this artist's interpretation of the Igbo Landing. So I think he's trying to portray that the slaves drowned under the water, but he's trying to portray it through a semi-abstract way. Now the next piece on that, the artist is trying to portray the same story, but when you look at it, he used the eye, the human eye. Most of the time you can tell a lot of emotion from just looking at the eye. So if you look into the eyeball, you can actually see something like a calabash. This is a calabash that is used in eastern Nigeria to carry palm wine. Most of the time when you see it, it represents Igbo culture. And that calabash is changed, and the chain is drawing it downwards. So the artist is trying to portray in an abstract form that these are Igbos, this is Igbo culture being drawn down. And as you look into the eye, you can see a horizon, you can see some skies, and then you see some water. So still same story that the artist is telling with just using the eye. Okay, so I think we'll skip a few of them. This right here, I think the title did something about freedom. Here you see two hands change, and these hands are drowning in the water. Now, if you read the history or the story of the Igbo Landing, a lot of people say that they chose to drown rather than live free in bondage. And so you can see these human hands, these human figures, they are drowning in water, but you see that the chain is broken. The chain is broken. So that is what the artist is trying to say, that it's better drowning and be free than to be alive and in chains. That's the message from this piece. Now, this is another work still telling a similar story. In some fictional accounts, some people said that they were singing as they drowned into the water. So this artist is trying to represent their songs as a human figure. So you see the song is moving into the water, and you see them change, going into the water as they are drowning into the ocean. So that was this artist's artist's interpretation. Yes, and as you can see that the song or the music which they are singing to and drowning is a very huge human figure. So that's the artist's interpretation. I'll skip a few of them. Okay, this work is a pencil drawing. It's a graphite on paper. This artist went with a direct representation of the story of Igbo Landing. So the artist went with a direct representation. So you see that he has almost realistic drawings of a couple of slaves, and they are all walking into the water. As they are walking into the water, if you look into the clouds, you can see a chain. You can see a chain to define slavery. So these are the slaves. They are walking into the water, walking into freedom, as the slavery remains up there. So it's almost like they are walking away from slavery. That's what this piece does. Another piece that seems interesting to me. Another piece that seems to be interesting to me is this. I personally find the abstract works very interesting. Now this artist is also adopting a similar interpretation with what the first artist and a few others did. He uses the symbols. The symbols represents both this artist and this other. Now there are three other very interesting pieces. Let's put together. Now, if you look at this piece, this is a painting of under the feet of all the slaves. This is a painting of the feet representing every slave that was on the ship. You will see them; they are all numbered. Usually, if you've seen a lot of slave trade documentaries, you see that throughout their travel, they are always lying down on the ship. A lot of them develop sores on their backs due to the voyage. So this artist is adopting this method to interpret the story. He's going with an abstract way. Now in Uli symbols, these feet, the human feet actually has a very strong interpretation. To some people it may interpret life's journey. It may be interpreted as life's journey. To some people it may be interpreted as a way of life. So this artist is interpreting the Igbo Landing story as this is the life journey of all these slaves lying upside down. Okay. Now this is the next piece I wanted to talk about. When you look at this piece, the top seems in very warm tones, warm colors, and then the bottom is in very cool colors. Now this artist is showing on top of the sea and under the sea, but it's using a portrait to do it. It's using a portrait painting to do it. Now, at the bottom of the sea, you have a lot of views. You have a lot of please, hold him down. You have a lot of cool tones, and then at the top of the sea, you have a lot of warm tones. So this artist is just trying to create a description of both sides of the story. When they were on top of, before they drowned, everything seemed okay. That's why you see all the colors became warm and natural. But as soon as they drowned, you have all of this. That's the interpretation of this. movement for the painting. So the artist, she went with a very abstract interpretation. So, and from what we see in this painting, we can see that she was describing what happened before they got on the ship. So this is like the slave market, and that is the ship behind them. Now the ship is embellished with a lot of symbols. It's embellished with so many of the symbols. And then this is the market. So it's just a presentation of what the slave market is. And the last piece I wanted to talk about is as it is. The artist who did this, he used himself as a subject for this subject. And we can see his slave, even though he's in bondage, but see that the chains are broken. So this artist is also telling a similar story. And despite the fact that he was slave, there was some sort of freedom at the end of all of this.